Yeah, it's funny. I mean, yeah, like I said, it's just I forget what the term is, but it's like the soft skills, like their personality and everything. Like you can't teach that. So if you can find somebody who's a decent editor or a decent photographer, but like a really good person, wicked eager to learn and like really motivated, I mean, you can teach them how to take better photos or how to edit better.
Neilan in the studio today from Focus Forward Media and also Neilan Media, which is his wedding brand. The first mention is his commercial brand.
Yep.
So thanks for being here.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Now, I wore the same shirt that I wore last time when I was on your podcast.
Yep. It's like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, so I just did that in honor of you.
Thank you.
Being on this podcast.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Like, good to see it.
You love to see it.
Yeah.
Love to see it. So, again, yeah, thank you for being here. And since the last time we were here, I think the first time we were going through coronavirus and we were talking about, different things, how that's impacted your industry. Most recently, you've had, some hiccups, as we all do, with brands and building a business, which I think is probably one of the hardest parts about having a business is leading others.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're a creative or passionate about something, you enjoy the work and you do a lot of it, and it's all on your own time, and you're the producer of productivity, as long as you can manage yourself. And I feel like if it's something that you like doing, it's easy to do.
Yeah.
But when it comes to others, bringing them into your business, it's much different. And it's hiring, I feel like, is one of the most important things. And there's manuals out there, but it's not something you learn in school. So if you're a business owner, you're probably learning it in real time. And, through that, you make mistakes, and you're learning. So, why don't you walk us through kind of like where you're at, and you've been, having some now hiring employees. What's that like? What's your process? What's your interviewing process? And what are some of the things that you've learned?
Yeah. So, it's funny, like all the stuff you learn in college. And I was actually just thinking about this the other day. Like if everything I learned in school, if I applied that to like a real 9-to-5 job where I went and worked for somebody, I just can't imagine like how different it would be from what I've been doing and what I'm doing now. And like everything you learn in school, like, there's some stuff that transition or translates to like being a business owner, but, man, is it crazy. Like the amount of things you have to just learn on your own by doing.
Yeah.
And especially like hiring, stuff like that. We just, we've gotten to the point where Mike and I need to focus on growing the company rather than doing all the editing, doing all the shooting, doing all the communication, because then we're just wrapped up in all of the day-to-day work, and we don't have any time to focus on like the vision and like where we see the company in a couple years and different avenues of work we want to do. So it's been interesting. Like, we're looking for a new video editor, and so like we have been looking at, even just today, we looked at probably 7 applicants that came in on just LinkedIn, and then a couple more. And it's like they don't you can't learn that in college. I don't think you can learn this stuff anywhere. Like figuring out like where are the parts in your business you need somebody, like what do I need to hire for?
Right. What are the most crucial roles? Like what should I be delegating to someone else?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then what do you need to look for in someone else? And like, and a lot of times you won't even know until you try. You try
until it's too late.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like you might bring somebody in, or you might, they might look good on paper and it doesn't work out. And so it's just about like trying. There's no getting around it.
Yeah, that's a super good point. And what you just said, like they might look good on paper, but you can write down anything on paper.
Yeah.
We had an applicant, and they hit every single point that I was looking for.
Yeah.
On paper, worked great, but in person, in the real world, it doesn't. And lately, we've been talking about because I feel like I got really lucky in the beginning with a few crucial hires that are just like happenstance, and that had really paid off. And nobody's perfect, so it's like there's a, you're just like leading someone, and there are things that you just have to address over time, and you have those conversations. But lately, hiring has been like one of those things where it's just like I feel like not choosing the right people. I'm just it's like shooting in the dark.
Yeah,
and we kind of been like trying to identify the things that are really important to us.
Sure.
And we had made a list, and the first on the list was likability. Like, do we like this person?
Yeah.
Like,
could you be friends with?
Could I be friends? Do I want to go out and get some coffee with this person?
Sure.
And I almost feel like that's the gatekeeper, of all the other characteristics that we're looking for. Like, do I enjoy? And does the team? Do other people? Because it's important that that
they get together.
They're gonna be FaceTiming with them. They're gonna be working together. Do they like this person?
Yeah.
Do they connect with that? So that was like really like the main one.
Oh, it's so important. It was funny. We were like looking over these people today, and this one kid like sent his website, and he had like a demo reel, and then like almost like a video resume. So it was like him talking to camera, and like his personality, he just seemed like wicked introvert, and it just, I mean, not to judge a book by its cover, but it just seemed like, whoa, I don't think that personality is going to like work here. Like Mike and I are both very outgoing, like friendly, jovial. Like we need that like outgoingness. And so just like the personality is huge. That is almost more important than anything.
Yeah, it's funny because we walked down the line and kind of getting to that person. Like we do have some introverts in the studio.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Which is not always a bad thing.
Not a bad thing.
No.
Like Blue Drop water, it's great, but it's very gassy. Little plug there. But it's not always a bad thing, and I feel like you can be an introvert and still be very likable.
Sure.
We have a few of those in the studio, and they're some of my favorite people.
Mm-hmm.
But things like bad attitude, very critical spirit, I feel like is very hard to work with.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had gone down the line. The first one was likability. The second one was responsible.
Okay.
So it was likable, responsible. Professional, I believe, was one of them.
Okay.
There was another one, and we had settled on those four. We're like, okay, these are the four characteristics that we're really looking for in a person. And then someone's just like, what about skillful? But it was like literally the last one.
Yeah. That's funny.
And I was like, yeah, that's probably important too.
It's funny. I mean, not to like, it sounds stupid, but that's almost, it's not the least important, because obviously you want them to be good at like what you're looking for. Like we're looking for an editor. We want someone who knows how to edit, but like,
right.
If they're still a beginner, like we can teach that. Like you can't teach somebody to like be a positive person. I mean, maybe you can.
It's much easier to teach someone how to take a photo and edit a photo than it is to be pleasant.
Yeah. Or like to change their whole, like if somebody just comes in and they're negative, like bad attitude, like you said, critical, very much like, I can't really do that. That's, like not willing to learn. Like you can't.
Oh, that was the other one.
So hard to change.
Teachable. That was the other one. So it was likable, teachable, responsible, professional.
Yeah.
And then someone's like,
skillful.
Skillful. Yeah, okay, yeah, let's do that one.
Hopefully they're good at it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, yeah, like I said, it's just I forget what the term is, but it's like the soft skills, like their personality and everything, like you can't teach that. So if you can find somebody who's a decent editor or a decent photographer but like a really good person and wicked eager to learn and like really motivated, I mean, you can teach them how to take better photos or how to edit better.
Yeah. So why don't you walk me through or walk us through like this recent example? You don't have to be super candid,
sure.
Because it's obviously
I don't want to be too specific.
Yeah.
No, so it's just sometimes I'll be pretty broad, but sometimes you just realized that someone might not be the right fit. And I listen to a lot of podcasts with like business leaders. And so I learn things and hear things. And like one thing I heard like a while back that was funny, it was like this guy who ran like an agency in New York City, and he was talking about how he used when he had to fire people. And he's like, honestly, sometimes it just was for the better for both of us. Like this person was being held back. Maybe they didn't even like the job.
Right.
Maybe they, just don't like fit right into the company and with other people. And so by letting someone go, obviously you're going to feel bad, but you like could be doing them a good deed. Like they might be like, oh, thank God. Like, I didn't want to like, nobody wants to quit either.
Right.
So it's almost like this game of chicken,
Right. It's like, yeah. And I've had those conversations too, where like, I had talked to a pastor about it because I was just like, yeah, this person's like totally not the right fit.
Right.
And I don't know what to do. Like, I know them personally. Like, is it going to be awkward? And he's like, you should just ask them, like, hey, how are you doing? How do you feel like, you're fitting in?
You like this role and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I did that, they were just like, yeah, I don't think this is like really like a good fit for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, yeah, I like totally understand. And we just went our separate ways.
Yeah.
So it's usually like, the other person feels it too.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, it's not a good fit. So it's a good way of like having them like opening the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Because ideally it is both. Ideally, two things. It's good for both of you. And also it's not a surprise.
Yeah.
Because that would suck. You're like, hey man, sorry, this isn't what? I'm being let go?
Yeah.
What are you talking? Like
especially if they love the job.
Yeah. Exactly.
I've never had that happen, but something I just recently read or had listened to, they had said, think about your team, who's on your team.
Yeah.
And if they left, would you hire them again? So it's like
if they quit.
If they
or
say they
whatever.
quit and they got another job and they left, and you think about them, the people that are on your team now, if they had quit and left, and then they wanted to come back, would you rehire them?
Huh.
And they're like, that's a really good indicator of, do you like this person?
Yeah.
Do you want is this person benefiting your team?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's like a relationship. If we broke up,
would you get back
and
together?
they dated somebody else, and then a couple years later, you guys kind of reconnected. Would you date again?
I'm kind of a sucker though, so
yeah,
I'll take them back. Just kidding. If any of you guys are listening out there, I was just kidding.
Big
Not taking you back.
Yeah.
Cool. So that about wraps it up. Thanks for coming on the podcast. When you spend more time setting up than talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is something I want to talk about, but it's so close to home. Let's talk about setting parameters, because this is something that like has come up pretty recently. And some people, I think, have a good instinct of what is okay and what's not okay and what I should ask my boss and what I should get approved and what I have autonomy over and what that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I really think that with having employees, and not all of them, like I said, but some of them, you have to set really strong parameters.
Yeah.
And you have to like, this is okay.
Right.
This is not okay.
Mm-hmm.
This needs approval. This doesn't need approval.
Sure.
Because some will just you give something, you might open up something, and then they'll just like kind of run with it.
The classic give an inch, take a mile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that's one of those things too. It's and when you're a business owner too, it's not like you have an HR department to kind of have this all worked out for you and all figured out, right? So it's just like,
at least not when you're like our size. Maybe when you're big, you have an HR department.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Which you can. I lost my train of thought, but yeah, if you're a little bit bigger, you can have an HR department.
Yeah.
But it's a luxury.
Right.
For a small business owner. So it's just like, it really does take time though away when you have someone like that is just, willing to, you give an inch, they take a mile.
Yeah.
It's, it can really drag you down.
For sure.
Because you're constantly monitoring that person. You constantly have to have conversations with that person.
Oh yeah.
It's no longer you're working for the vision of your company. You're working for the overall. You're pushing things forward.
Right.
You're now babysitting. You can't. You're policing. You can't do that. You can't. You shouldn't have that attitude. You shouldn't do this. And it becomes your job now becomes managing. And a leader, I feel like, and a leader should be like just kind of motivating the team, saying, "Hey, we're going in this direction. Here's what we're doing."
Right.
You really want people. I'm not sure if you've had. Is that something you experience in your business?
Yeah, and it's exactly what you said. It like drags you down because it's like at least for me, like maybe some people enjoy it, but I hate being micromanaged.
Mm-hmm.
So I also hate like the feeling like I'm micromanaging somebody.
Right.
Because in a perfect world, I would just like to be like, hey, I need these photos edited, or like, hey, I need you to email like these 10 people and set up a meeting here and blah, 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 blah. And then have to like come back and be like, oh, well, no, I don't like the way that's edited, or, oh, can you edit it this way? Or like, oh, can you get it done faster? Or like, can you not do that? Like, I just want to be able to like set it and forget it.
Right.
And so, yeah, it bogs you down. And then exactly, you feel like you're babysitting, and it's just not fun. Like it takes you away from the reason you hired somebody is to free up some of your responsibilities and free up some of your work to then focus, like you said, on the longer term company, like vision and goals. But now you're being bogged down because you're like, oh, I gotta have this talk with this guy again, or like I gotta, we have to sit down and have a meeting with him, or like, him or her, and it just takes away from like your time, which is what you hired this person to do.
It kind of comes down to that professional characteristic, and if they're not acting professional, then it's just you're always having those conversations. And you're right, like the best people don't need to be managed.
Yeah.
So it's like you give them something and they see the vision of the company and they're just going to push forward. And hopefully they're surprising you. Hopefully you're not like inspecting what you expect and, they're just giving you what you expect. I mean, hopefully they're at least giving you what you expected and not like, yeah, it feels like this is mailed in, or this feels like it could be better here. Hopefully it's like, man, wow, I didn't even think of that. That's great. That's great.
Right. Yeah.
You really want people like that. People that don't need to be managed, that exceed your expectations.
Right. And there's always going to be like you said, nobody's going to be perfect. Mm-hmm. So yes, like people are going to need some help. Nobody's going to be perfect right out of the gate. So yes, like you might need to, talk to this person, or like just set the standard, like, oh, hey, like typically this is how we work, or like whatever. And, one or two conversations could completely change it.
Right. I think I was just listening to Dave Ramsey. Are you familiar with him?
No.
He's like the financial guru, but like he also has a very large business, and he was talking about like his core values at his company, and one of them is that everybody acts like they're self-employed.
Interesting.
And I was like, that's an interesting mentality to have. So it's just like you have a bunch of like business owners, and how business owners are and how they treat the work.
Yeah.
And that's like a core value. And I was just like, and so his interview process, I guess, like is a long interview process.
Yeah.
They don't just like let anybody through. And I think that's what we've been trying to adapt here. It's just like, we got to be like, they have other people. It's just like they go through a round of, I think it's like 9 interviews. They ask for a personal budget. So they're like, we want to see like a personal budget so that we can see if you're like, if what we're offering you for a salary will meet your financial needs.
That's interesting.
That's very interesting. I was like, it's a little invasive.
Yeah, that's a little much.
They
that's
also interview their spouse.
What?
Yeah.
That's weird.
Because they're like, you're going to be going home and talking to this person
about this work.
What kind of person is their spouse? Wow.
I might need to have Mike McDonough like interview Monica.
Yeah, we should actually bring her in for an interview. I've met her before.
Yes. Yeah.
She's okay.
She's good.
So Larry David.
Very funny.
She's
Yeah,
all right.
pretty
good.
Pretty good.
Um,
That's interesting though. What's his company?
Ramsey Solutions.
Are they like
So
marketing?
No, their mission is actually to help people get out of debt.
Oh, okay.
So, their whole philosophy is that you should be debt free, and they walk you through like these baby steps, and they've helped like hundreds of thousands, if not millions, maybe, like get out of debt.
Wow.
People that are like millions of dollars in debt, all the way to people who are like hundreds, maybe tens of thousands of dollars in debt.
Wow.
Usually like student loan debt, hundreds of thousands in student loan debt. His whole like motto is live like nobody else so that you can live like nobody else. So basically, living like very below your means for like 2-3 years, paying off your debt, working up your savings, so you can get to a place where you can live
comfortably.
Yeah. We took a short
pause
break there. So why don't you just tell me some new things that are going on with Focus Forward and maybe Neilan Media, and I know maybe even too, like, what is your general? Are you optimistic about this new wedding season that we're coming into? What are some new things? Maybe even some struggles that you're going through.
Yeah. So typically in the past couple of years with Neilan Media, we've done anywhere from like 10 to 15 weddings per year. And last year, I think we still did about 9, maybe.
That's pretty good.
So, yeah. But it was always up until a year ago, I was basically running everything myself. A little over a year ago, actually, probably a year and a half ago is when I started to merge it. But so when I graduated college in 2016, that's what I was doing, was sort of doing my own thing. At the time, I was doing some corporate work, like some freelance, but some weddings. And then I started doing more weddings. And so, I grew from like 8 to 10 to 14, whatever. And then so like 2017, 18, 19, did like probably a steady 10 to 15 a year, like I said. And then in late 2019, Focus Forward was a year and almost 2 years old at the time. And I started doing more advertising and more, I guess just more work on it. And things started to grow. I think the work got a little better just naturally over time. And then going into 2020, like I said, just did a lot more advertising and just really like experimented with it more. And then, so long story short, now coming into 2021 here, we have 36 weddings scheduled, which is a big jump. And so, I always joke that like I'm a little nervous because it's a lot. So, but it's exciting. It's cool to see, and it's been fun to like really see the growth and like be growing with it. So it's been fun. So actually, it's funny. Something else that we were talking about today was hiring a photographer and photo editor. So that's something we're thinking about for the coming season. Out of those 36, about 20 of the weddings have photo. So that would be something that would be helpful. And so going back to our talk about like hiring, that's
right.
We've found like, okay, photo would be something that we could be,
I mean, useful. How do you like look at your company as a whole, right? And the different functions. Like for me, one of the last things that I delegated was sales because I felt like it was so crucial, right? But it's an art, I think, to kind of figure out, okay, what's the next thing to be delegated?
Right.
And that's something that like we've been kicking around too, where it's just like, okay, the video editing, no brainer. That was like the most time consuming part of the process. Like we have an editor and we just, hired a second. So like that department is kind of covered.
Yeah.
With shooting and sales too, we've covered that.
Cool.
But the photo editing, we have someone in-house, but they wear multiple hats.
Sure.
So it's like they're doing the marketing, the social media, they're doing the photo editing, and they're also shooting.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like the next thing to hire would maybe be a photo editor.
Just a strictly photo editor.
They're 100% just taking care of the photo edits.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think, that's what we did is we looked at, what's coming up and I thought what would be useful. Like we kind of have video editing taken care of, I think.
What do they charge you per edit?
$250 for a highlight.
Yeah, that's like the going rate. We had one in Australia that was like $160.
Yeah.
And they like would piecemeal it together and give us something that was like decent storytelling, and then we would like put our touch on it.
Yep.
So that was like, and it's always like the first couple kind of getting into the flow of things, like, translating like, what you're looking for, but then you lock something down and it's a good way to like keep costs low.
Yeah. Yeah. So we found an editor, like a team out there that I think is going to work really well. And they already did one. And I'm really happy with it. And what's still nice is we can still then edit it from there if we need to. So, we still share the project file and everything. So we get all that after. And if we ever needed to like make any changes or if we wanted to, we can totally do that. So, as far as video, like I think we'll be good. And then,
now what about 2 canoes for photo editing?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not against the idea. I think I'm old school in the sense that I prefer a person. I don't know why. Like it could be way cheaper. I'm sure it is.
Oh yeah.
It definitely is. And
I mean, that's the thing. You have to like justify a salary. So it's just like, a company that outsources, you're paying like $150, $200 for a photo edit. I think it probably takes about 8 hours, I think, to edit a wedding. 8 to 10 hours.
Wedding photos?
Yeah.
I actually looked at one today. Maybe I got to like step my game up. It took me 16.
16? Okay, still not bad.
Yeah.
I had a friend and she used to do it in 8 hours. It depends on the wedding, and how many photos you're calling through, but it's definitely it takes it can take between probably 8 and 16 hours.
Yeah. But so that was something, like I said, we looked at, and with all those weddings coming up, we were like, photo. I think that would be a big help, would be like a photographer go-to, because I'm usually the go-to, and then we have a couple others that work with us pretty frequently, and then but having like another go-to lead like myself would be helpful, so that I can feel comfortable, really comfortable. I usually do, but be able to take on an extra one or so per day on those summer weekends. Yeah, I think it'd be helpful.
So a photo editor, right? I expect in this region you're probably spending between $15 to $20 an hour for a photo editor.
Yeah, that's probably right.
So you're spending about, would you do it part-time? Would it be a seasonal position, but then you're retraining every year? So if you got to justify at least, probably $32K for starting to, $40K.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, do the math on that, like, it's definitely way more cost effective. You're probably getting all your wedding edits done. How many did you say you have?
20 that have photo.
Yeah.
36 total.
So you're looking at like $3,000,
Yeah.
for the editing.
It's pretty good. I'm not totally opposed to it. I did one like over a year ago, and it was cheap, but I wasn't super happy with the end product, and so that was the last time I had done it. But I don't know. I wouldn't be like I said, I wouldn't be opposed to trying it. I guess I'm old school in the sense that I don't know, like,
but not with video.
I mean, honestly, video is the same way. But after talking it over with Mike, he's just like, dude, it just makes too much sense. Like, we can still edit it if we need to or want to, or, if it doesn't work, we can still edit. I'm like, yeah, I guess. All right.
Yeah, it's really tough. I don't know how these editing houses do it. Like, how do you charge? How does the house make money?
In Ukraine.
And the person makes money.
$250 US in Ukraine is, let me double check. I don't want to be wrong here, but it's like 7,000 Ukraine dollars.
No.
I swear to God. I looked it up because I was like, why is that so cheap? Yeah. So $1 Ukraine dollar is 3 cents here. So
Yeah, but is it relative? So is like
yeah, $250 is $6,936 over there.
But that must have is a Big Mac like $300?
Right. Yeah, who knows? I don't know actually.
Look it up. Say, hey Jamie, look it up. How much is a Big Mac in Ukraine?
How much is a Big Mac in Ukraine? A Big Mac in Ukraine is $191.
Is that U.S. dollars though? How many in Ukraine dollars?
Big Mac in
What is the name of their currency?
It says $1.91. I mean, even if that's
We got to figure out this exchange rate.
even if that's here, like $1 US, it's 53 Ukraine dollars. So, I don't know.
Well,
Interesting.
maybe that's how they do it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of on the table for Neilan Media. So that's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to this season. Knock on wood. We've only had a few postponements. So.
Well, I think with Texas opening up, like,
You guys gonna move there?
yeah, I think
Move
we're just
mountains,
moving the whole
Texas.
business
Yeah.
there.
Move mountains, Dallas.
Yeah, that's where we are right now. We're in Dallas.
I've heard Austin is actually a really cool city.
Yeah,
I'd like to try that.
I keep
Monica
hearing
was
that.
supposed to go there for a bachelorette party.
Be cool to visit.
Yeah, I would do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then at Focus Forward, things are good. We're working with a company in Rhode Island, Squad Locker. They do like custom apparel for businesses and like teams and stuff, like sports teams.
Very cool.
So they have a couple podcasts that they run in-house. And so we actually do the production on those. So they take care of like the shooting, and then every blue moon we have to go down there and shoot if like somebody's not available or something. Like they have an in-house guy that does it, but we do the editing and like publishing and stuff for 2 of their podcasts. So that's pretty cool.
So let me ask you, like, what are some of the goals of Neilan Media and Focus Forward? What are you guys trying to do?
I think with Focus Forward, I've said this for a while, but we're really looking to just like keep expanding. Like, try not to give away too much.
You got to be candid on the show. You know?
I know.
You really got to let it fly.
Yeah. No, so pretty soon we have basically like a marketing brand launching, Focus Forward Marketing. And so we'll be offering like web design, SEO services, social media campaigns, branding, all that kind of stuff. So like over the past year, a little over a year, we've been working on that. So that's coming really soon. Which is exciting. I'm looking forward to that. We've just realized like we're now just over 3 years in business, Focus Forward. After working with like such a diverse set of companies, like, you know, one of them would be like Providence Bagel, or like a restaurant or in the food space. And then we might work with like, a couple of years ago, we worked with Leahy Health and they're in the medical space. And then we worked with a nonprofit breast cancer organization. And then we worked with some construction companies. So like our work is all over the place, and that's not like normal. A lot of companies like us would kind of like niche down and get into like one area. You know, we'd be like, oh, we do just restaurants, or like we're a construction video marketing company. But we just enjoy like the diversity too much, like getting to work on so many different things. I think if we got like stuck in construction or got stuck in restaurants or whatever, we'd just get bored, and maybe we'd become experts in it. But I think we wouldn't enjoy it as much because we wouldn't get to like work with so many different types of people and different types of work.
Yeah.
And so anyway, in that time, we've worked with a range of companies in size too. So like some of them have full marketing departments, and they come to us and they're like, here's the idea. we have this new product. Here's the idea behind the video. We have sort of a rough script written out, and we basically go from there. So they have a lot of the upfront work already done. But then we work with other companies where they're like, here's our new product, and we're not really sure how to like market this. We think a video maybe, but like, what's your thoughts? And so people like look to us for that advice. And so over those, experiences, we've just been like, hey, this is like really cool. We're getting into like a whole nother sector here. We're really like getting creative and coming up with cool ideas, and they're loving it, and it's working. So that was sort of the idea behind Focus Forward Marketing. And I think just basically like expanding our services and growing and helping people with more than like just video. Because over that time, like I said, this stuff has worked, and we've enjoyed getting into these other spaces and realizing that, we feel pretty good about it.
Cool. Yeah, so I love that. So you guys are expanding. You guys are expanding your services, probably under the same brand, sounds like. So, what are some of those, I would think, like, how are you guys increasing your bandwidth, right? So it's like you, do a lot of the work in-house. For some video editing. You got 36 weddings coming up.
Yeah.
You have 2 brands that you're running. You guys do a podcast. You guys do a weekly Focus Forward Fridays. So that's a video per week right there. That is probably not really meant to draw revenue. That's like an internal project.
It's fun.
So how do you expand your bandwidth and take on? Okay, now we're going to do websites. Now we're going to do marketing. Now we're going to do SEO services.
Yeah.
How do you handle all that workload?
We're just gonna figure it out. No, I'm just kidding.
We have no plan. The plan is no plan.
No, it's a good question. We have some part-time people that work for us, and a lot of, I guess you could say contractors, but connections that work with us frequently that have those skills. And we have some of it as well, enough to feel like, God forbid, everybody leaves. Like, if somebody hires us for a website and, we have a web designer that is close to us business-wise, like good friendship, and we have them do it. If they had to like leave and pick up and move across the country and not do this project anymore, like, I can take care of that because I've had experience building a few websites like our own.
Right.
And like video editing, obviously Mike and I's background is both in video, so we have no problem doing that. Social media is something we've learned over the years. So as we bring in people to do that, God forbid we can't have those people work with us anymore. We're like, we can handle it.
Yeah, because that's, I think that's like, I think you're approaching on like a new topic of every entrepreneur's like fear of like people leaving. You know what I mean? Like, and then you're like stuck.
Yeah.
Oh my God, how am I gonna handle this? But yeah, bandwidth is like one of those things. It's like, we experience that where we're now doing the podcast, right?
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of internal projects where it's just like super time consuming. You were here when we're setting up, right? Yeah. One of our guys was staying late to help set up, racking up some overtime, and it's a lot of hours, multiple people.
Yeah.
And then, someone's going to edit this, and it's really, if there is any ROI, it's very far off in the future with like building YouTube channel, just kind of having, and this podcast, they say like you want to be an authority on something, right? And we're really in the wedding space. So it's like, we probably should be the authority like on shooting weddings.
Yeah.
But I feel like this podcast is really catered towards entrepreneurs.
For sure.
And some of the pain points and speaking with other entrepreneurs. And it's just like really, hopefully as, present some kind of solace, right, to them, but hopefully some solutions as well. And see that there's other people that are really like in their shoes too and taking these chances, right? So you're launching this new brand and you're taking some chances.
Yeah, it could totally flop. Like we might. No, I'm just like.
I guess. I don't think it will.
I don't think so either. Lil Wayne said it best.
Okay.
Prepared for the worst, but still praying for the best.
Okay. Did Lil Wayne say that?
Lil Wayne,
the
rapper.
Yeah, he said
it in one of his songs.
I've seen some interviews with him, and I really like him.
I wish I could pull up the song. I should have it saved because it comes up all the time. I always think about it. Like
planning for the worst, praying for the best.
Basically, we're prepared for the worst,
Yep.
but we're praying for the best. I mean, hopefully it works out. We're hoping, we're confident.
Yeah.
But if it fails, like, we'll be okay.
Well, I think like the question of bandwidth too, and maybe like dividing up your time between, those maybe, and that's a what if, right? So you guys have a podcast as well, and you guys have been very consistent with it, and having people on and editing and getting it out there, and then cutting it up to multiple clips and putting out the content to be more digestible.
Yeah.
But then it's like, and that's for service, like for others, basically, right? It's fun to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Of course.
This is fun to do, meeting up with others and connecting and that kind of thing. But then also, it kind of, what's your whistle? Like if you just have like, if you're a creative person and you want to be doing something, I think it's good for that.
Yeah.
And, but it's not an immediate ROI.
Right. For sure.
Yeah,
I mean, the podcast thing was something that we started for fun. And after doing it, I mean, from the time we started it until we booked a client that was paying us to produce a podcast was almost 2 years.
Dang.
So like we started it for fun, and after a good amount of time, we got better at it. At first we didn't do any video; we only did audio because we were like, let's nail this down first. Let's dial it down first. Let's get it in.
Let's dial it down.
And we really wanted to like fine tune it, and then so after like 10 episodes, we're like, okay, we got a pretty good handle on this. Like now let's do some video. And then after doing video for a while, like we just figured out like better ways to do it, like we light it or like different angles. How do we make the sound better? All that kind of stuff. We got better equipment, all that kind of thing. And then we were really like, wow, this would be so cool. Like we should offer this as a service because, over the past 2 years, podcasts have exploded. I mean, now it might actually have been, 2019. So 2 years. Yeah. 2021. Like podcasts have just exploded. They're so popular. Everybody has a podcast now. So after a while we were like, wow, we should really like offer this as a service. And then so after like talking about it for a while, and like having people approach us about it, cause we put our podcast out every week and put the videos out. And like you said, on social media, people started seeing it, and, it just got a lot of traction. And then, after a while, like, couple companies approached us, and one of them, signed on, and now we're doing 2 podcasts for them. And so, so it's stuff like that. Like it's going to be an upfront investment, of time, money, your energy. It's, I don't know. It's just normal. Like I feel like it's just kind of a given at this point. I'm so used to it.
Right. Do you guys ever, I mean, and again, you probably not because you guys have been super consistent with everything that you guys do. But there are ever times where it's just like, hey, you're working on client stuff. You've had, your bandwidth is just stretched thin.
Yeah.
But hey, we're supposed to put a podcast today.
Yeah.
And also, how long does it take you to produce a podcast? Just for the editors listening.
Sure. Yeah. So, to your question, yes, 100%. There have been, and luckily it's, I guess, not long enough that people complain or notice, but there was a period for like a couple months, I think. It was like the end of one summer into like, late fall. So it was like 2-3 months, maybe it was like 2 months where we didn't have a podcast, and we were like, we really got to get a new one out. But we've done our best to stay pretty consistent. So the editing part, so usually the podcast will last about an hour to an hour and a half. But we set up for about 30, 45 minutes, break down another 20, 30 minutes. The edit of the full thing will typically take about a half hour longer than the actual show. So if the episode's an hour, probably takes about an hour and a half to edit. And then the clips are what's really time consuming. So going through it again.
You got to find that content.
Finding the parts of, Sean and I we had a few really good points here about advertising, or, this guy, John, he had a few minutes where he really talked about like how they grew the company, and it was a really interesting story. So like finding those and then doing the subtitles, that takes a while.
Oh, the subtitles. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. I mean, now we have an online service, which most people do. I used to just like type them all out by hand.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't need any help with this. And finally we just found like a service that basically will type the captions and then you bring the file in and just adjust it.
Yeah, so two things I was just thinking about when you were saying that. The first is you mentioned a billboard.
Where?
I think you just mentioned a billboard.
I don't think I've...
Roll it back. You did. You mentioned a billboard.
Okay.
Question for you. Billboard.
I don't remember mentioning billboards.
Is it lucrative or is it just a flex?
Having a billboard?
Yeah, paying for advertising for a billboard.
I don't know.
The team made a good point the other day. They're like, man, having a billboard is such a flex.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like that's the whole reason to get a billboard.
Yeah. It probably is.
And it's kind of cool.
Yeah?
I'm liking
You're
it.
going to get one?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think in terms of advertising, I mean, sure, if you can get a billboard for like $500 for a
I think
month.
they're like $2,000.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's a waste of money, to be candid.
Yeah. No, you could be right. You're very right. I do think like their only like value is just like another brand recognition.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, okay, like, and I feel like if we had a billboard, it'd be like, huh, what's that? Because it's not really like wedding photography.
Right.
It's not like super present.
Right.
You know, in the name. So I feel like it could be like, it would just trigger curiosity in someone's mind, and then to be like, maybe they'd look it up.
Right.
You know, but then, you know, hopefully they're seeing it like in other places.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, could be a waste of money. The other thing that I just read recently, I really recommend the book. It's called Great CEOs Are Lazy.
Oh.
Yeah, it's one of those like interesting titles that kind of rubs you in.
Yeah.
And it's
Sounds
basically all about like delegation. We were talking a little bit about hiring and like when is the proper time to hire somebody, and there probably are those proper times.
Yeah.
You know, but their whole thing was you're always trying to get out of the player seat. Like as a CEO, if you're like trying to run a business, like you're always trying to get out of the player seat. So whatever you find yourself doing, they say that if someone else can do it 70% as good as you, then it's time to delegate that task. And so removing yourself, and the only time that you should find yourself back in the player seat is to troubleshoot. And it really reminded me of the time that our old studio manager had left, and that was the day that I was on your podcast, or that week. And you know, if you listen to me on that podcast, you know I'm in a state of shock. I'm really going through
panic.
I'm in the fire.
Yeah.
And it's a great episode. Episode number.
It's like the low 20s.
Low 20s.
That I mix them all up because it was like you, Brian was there, Nitro Bar.
Yep.
So it was like.
So if you want to see me wearing the same shirt in that episode, bumbling over my sentences, check it out. But yeah, studio manager had just left, and we were heading into our busiest month, September. We had I think like 30 weddings or something like that, 100, bunch of timelines to make, things to take care of, and they were wearing a lot of hats. Yeah, social media, sales, project management, client delivery, all that stuff, and it was just like, oh man, how are we going to do this? But the book really says like the only time you should enter back into a seat is to make something better. And so I had to kind of put that hat on, and I was just like, this is way too much for one person. And so I just started delegating everything out, basically out of necessity and survival, basically. Yeah. But also there were processes, and I was just like, this isn't a good way to do this. This isn't like an effective way or an efficient way. And so I started tweaking things, and it really, although it was, I thought, we were going to like lose the business, we weren't going to make it. Wow. It was kind of one of those moments where it was just like, oh wow, this made us better as a company. This improved us. This made us so much stronger as a company. And I've been really resonating in that book too. I was just like, oh, this is not going to be a good book. This is like, I read the 4-Hour Workweek, which I think like people really rave about that. Yeah, they do. I didn't really connect with it. I think I was like really stubborn, and I was just like, nah, this is like the same. This is like a book that's kind of like a get rich quick scheme, and they're about like they want to be on an island, like live in that like. Yeah. And I'm not. I don't like taking vacations and things like that. Like,
I know, you're crazy.
It kind of bores me.
So you think by having that problem where your studio manager left and you had to jump back into the driver's seat, you think after that it ended up being better? Like you improved things and you learned and then changed processes for the better.
Yeah, we came
That's
out
cool.
a much stronger company, and there was like a little bit of resistance, kind of delegating some of those tasks.
Yeah.
But even lately, I've been thanked, like, hey, thank you for like, pushing me to do like certain things.
Yeah.
So you give other
how that
opportunities. Yeah. You give other people like opportunities, and yeah, it made the whole company stronger.
That's good.
I definitely recommend the book.
It's
a good
check
one.
it out. Great CEOs Are Lazy.
Great CEOs Are Lazy.
Okay, I'm gonna try it.
I listened to the audiobook.
Oh, you did?
And it was so good that I bought the actual book.
Yeah, I'm a physical reader. I can listen to podcasts, but I feel like if I listen to an audiobook, I don't know if I'll take it in. So I gotta read.
Yeah, I actually find it hard to get through podcasts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. So I have this interesting story for, and I guess it's a good lesson. And the overall message, I guess I'll start with the ending. The overall message is always be the bigger person. And this story basically helped.
This was with the client that you had, correct?
Yes. Yep. And so this actually basically helped Mike and I define our roles, which I think if you're in a position where you have a business partner, it's so crucial to define your roles and figure out, okay, I'm good at communication and outreach and business development and all that. And my business partner, he's good with the finance and they're good with, administrative tasks, whatever it is. But figuring out your best roles between you and a business partner is so important. So a couple of years back, we were working with a client, and it was such a silly mistake. It was sort of a mistake I made. Basically, we were on a deadline, and we made the deadline, and so this company, they had shared a set of photos with us to use in the video, and it was sent from a different email address because the company's privacy on their emails was so tight that they weren't able to share things with people outside their organization. So if you go to Google Drive and you go to share something and you share it with somebody with a different company email address, it'll usually warn you. It'll say, hey, this person is outside your organization. Are you sure you want to share it? So because of this company and their privacy, they weren't able to do that. So the client sent me the photos on a personal email address. And
sounds like the Hillary Clinton scandal. Are
no,
you using a private email?
It's very different from that.
Okay.
And so we had done.
We still haven't seen those emails, by the way.
Yeah. Oh my God. So we had finished the video on time, and what happened was, in Gmail on the desktop, when you go to type somebody's name, you type the first 3 letters, and it'll start to populate the people that will match those. And so I typed the letters, the person's name came up, I hit enter, typed out the email, attached the video, sent it. It was a Friday. Monday goes by, no word. I'm like, okay, maybe they're busy. Tuesday morning, they hit me with an email. Hey, Mike, we're just looking to check in on the progress of the video. I'm out of the office today, but I was hoping to get a look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh, hi. I actually had sent the email over on Friday. It was about 4 or 5 in the afternoon. It was towards the end of the day. Let me know if you didn't get it. And so then I'm like, oh, I could have sworn I sent it. So went back and searched my emails, and I found, sent it to her personal one. Okay, well, still got to her. It's still her email address. That's her. I get an email back. Hi, Mike. That is my personal email address. And as I was explicitly clear, I told you not to use that email address because it is a personal one that I rarely check, and I only used it because of our company privacy. Mm-hmm. And then she went on and she said, I had my own business for 10 to 15 years or something like that. Mm-hmm. And if I didn't hear back about feedback from a client within a day, I would certainly be checking in to make sure they got it. And she, was very explicitly upset. And now I got that email at 6:30 in the morning on a Tuesday while I'm at the gym, like working out. Just started my day. My first thought was like, wow, that is incredibly rude.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I was so mad. And, I took a screenshot and sent it to Mike. I was like, look at this. This is ridiculous. And it taught me to, like, one, take a deep breath, obviously, before you respond to emails.
Yeah.
Never respond in the moment, which I've been pretty good at. I've never really responded in the moment. And always be the bigger person. So my response back, so sorry about that. Just looked back, noticed it was your personal email address. My apologies. Here's the video. Looking forward to your feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Just kept it simple, kept it polite. And I think if you can always maintain that sort of notion of like be the bigger person, in the end, you can never be blamed. You always did your best. You tried.
Well, not only that, you dictated the direction,
Mm-hmm.
right? So she's coming at you with a lot of,
Anger.
Very angry. Yeah, very
Yeah.
angry and kind of it'd be easy to emotionally respond to that and bring it further down that.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
create that. But you said no, and you literally created the direction.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm not going to go down that road.
It's pointless.
This is the road we're going to go. I acknowledge it. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Won't happen again.
Yeah.
And we're going to, what was her response?
Oh, it was fine. I mean, it ended up not being the end of the world.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then, sure enough, ran into like the same issue, not the same issue, but, something similar with the same company the next year. So we worked with them again and, just basically, miscommunication, perhaps, not really. We had sent an invoice and they didn't submit it until like after the day of the event.
Mm-hmm.
And because they were a larger company, they were net 30. And so they expected the video before we had received any payment. And, again, it just got down to like some angry emails were sent and, long story short, just going back with, look, I understand where you're coming from. But, as I may have mentioned, this is how we sort of operate, and we're just looking for fairness in both sides here. As soon as we have that, we'll be in touch with the videos. That's the sort of general premise. Obviously there's specifics, but, again, just that overall message of like maintaining positivity and just not letting the emotion like get the best of you.
Yeah.
Because just like you said, yeah, if I get back with an emotional response, like, you're being ridiculous, this is crazy, you never said this, or, we're going to hold on to this video forever, you're never going to see it. Like, that's just creating so much stress that I don't need.
Yeah.
And Mike doesn't need. Like, the last thing we need is like more problems.
Yeah, I remember I had gone to this leadership school, and they had said that one of the lessons was, or maybe it was just like some practical advice, but my pastor had said, you be weird, I'll be nice. And he's just like,
Yeah.
it was pretty much with dealing with people, and that kind of like reminds me of the situation where it's just like, just because someone like wants you to go down that road with them.
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to go down that road.
No.
You
And I
know?
mean, it's probably what they wanted. Like,
Right.
they probably wanted to get me mad and, have me respond angry, and then I could be looked at as the bad guy. But I was
Right.
just like, no, you're not going to make me look like the bad guy. No how, no way.
Yeah, there's this other principle that we like talk about here a lot, and it's like the 10%. So it's like you have your clients, and most of them are probably happy.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there are some that are unhappy or maybe not fully satisfied, and they're not going to say anything. But then there's like the 10% where it's just like maybe it's smaller than that, 5%.
Yeah.
And it's just like they're unhappy. They're difficult clients.
Yeah.
And when you have a client like that, it makes you feel like everybody's unhappy.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
they're all unhappy, and they're just so critical, and they just so want to come at you.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, like, I'll go back and I'll look at the work, right? Because I don't see everything,
Sure.
you know. And I'm like, oh God, like, what did we do? What did the shooter do? Like,
Right.
what does this edit look like?
Yeah.
You know. And it just, I get into their world.
You almost immediately wonder, almost not completely, but you side with the client. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
What did we do
Oh, it
wrong?
must be bad. Like,
Exactly.
You know,
They must be right.
And the one I'm actually thinking about, I like looked at her video and I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
This is like one of our best videos.
Wow.
And it's just like, how are we going to make this person happy?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's difficult. Sometimes. And you do got to set boundaries, I think, sometimes with clients. And, you know, because they can, you know, some that are difficult, they can like just walk all over you and just like.
All it takes is that one to like drain your energy and feel like everything.
Yeah.
And like that's like the other part of it. It's like even since then, that was really only one of the only times that's ever happened. Thank God. Like, knock on wood, all of our clients have been amazing. So, we're pretty lucky. But ever since then, anytime there's even like remotely a situation that could go wrong or like could get negative, it's like immediately like, let's turn this around.
Yeah.
Because it's like, look, the last thing we need is like a problem or like stress. Like, yes, if we're in the right, like 100%, okay, maybe we need to like talk to this client or this person, or, you know, let's figure out what's going on here.
Right.
But it's like, I don't know. It's just, it's not worth the headache that it could cause if you continue going down that path or like go down that road. It's just
it's
not
never
worth
good.
it. It's never worth it.
I've argued with clients. You know, I'll set myself up for the full week. I'll mentally prepare for it. You know, the phone calls on a Friday, and I'm trying to argue, like, you know, my case with the client, like, and how we're justified. Yeah, that didn't come with this package.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't get that service.
Right.
And they're just, you know, they feel they're entitled to it. Well, you know, how am I going to watch my ceremony without the audio? You know, it's just the camera. I can barely hear it, this and that. And it's just like, you know, but you got to highlight.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That camera is only kind of set up there as like a courtesy.
Visual.
You know, that's not the product that you got.
Right.
And yeah, so it's you know, with that particular client that I'm mentioning, it's just like, and I'm saying, like, thinking like, why? This is going to take me 2 hours for the editor. It's going to cost me, you know, I don't know, $30-$50.
Yeah.
And like, it wasn't worth the emotional tax that I took. I should have been like, all right, it's the 10%. Just make them happy. Do whatever they need.
Yeah.
Give them the film for free.
Right. Exactly. Because at that point, like, then you have the people that are the complete opposite, and, you know, they're happy like right away.
Oh yeah.
You're like, great. All right.
They want to leave you a review. There's like, I had one lady during the pandemic. We had so many people moving, and we had some people moving like May to June. And then we had a client move, that same client want to move to August.
Yeah.
And I let her, so she moved twice.
Yeah.
And one of our clients wanted to move to that same date. And with this particular client, you know, I was like, hey, here's the procedure. We're going to take another 25% because we're only taking 25%. Most people take 50 for a deposit.
Yeah.
And I was like, no problem, we'll move you. We're not charging you extra.
Yeah.
And she didn't want to sign the new contract, didn't want to make the new payment.
Yeah.
But I moved her twice at this point. And then we had this client that wanted to move to that same date. And I was like, I'm so sorry. We're completely full that day.
Yeah.
And she's like, man, I really want you guys to shoot my wedding. She's like, I'll even pay extra. And it's just like, you know, you're already paying like $8,000.
Yeah.
Like,
geez, I would feel bad.
Yeah. So, and then that client, and I said, you know what? I have a feeling someone else is going to move.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just going to put you there. I took a chance. I put her there. I moved her. And that client that was giving me a hard time wanted to move again.
There you go.
It's just like,
perfect. Worked out.
That was the first time I actually fired a client.
Wow.
Yeah. I was just like, this isn't a good
gonna
fit.
work. Yeah. Definitely not. I feel like that's probably even harder than having to let go of an employee. What do you think was harder?
I don't know. I think it's pretty hard letting.
Did you
go
pull
of
the
an
move?
employee.
Hey, how do you think this is going?
This isn't good. I'm not happy.
Yeah.
That's what I can say.
Yeah. That's tough.
I'm just not happy.
Yeah. But yeah, so the defining roles and being a bigger person, I think those are two big things because those really helped Mike and I to grow. It was figuring out what we were both good at.
Yeah.
So now I take care of like 99% of our communication.
Mm-hmm.
I take care of it. And so it's just so much easier knowing he knows that I got it taken care of. Anytime an email's coming in, whether it's a new lead or like a client is checking on a video, whatever it is, I got it taken care of. And I know Mike is like the master editor. And so I know that all our work is going to get done like excellent. And I know that we're going to put out a great product and people are going to be happy because Mike does not let anything fly.
He doesn't. And like, that's so critical, I think, like defining the roles. And I feel like just clarity. Like, they actually said that too on that podcast. They said to not be clear is to be unkind.
Huh. Yeah. I like that.
Which I was like, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this podcast, you should really be listening to this other podcast. But no, they, I thought that was a great point, but creating clarity around the roles, which is something that we're trying to double down here. Yeah. It is hard when people wear multiple hats.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that's brilliant because you are such a people person. You're really great with dealing with people, really great with dealing with clients. You're pretty even keel, very much a people person. I wouldn't want to deal with Mike. I don't like dealing with Mike.
Yeah, okay.
I like Mike.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want to deal with him on like anything other than a friendship kind of running into him. Like business dealings, I wouldn't want to deal with him. You know?
Oh. Yeah, wait, me?
No. The other Mike.
Oh. Say that again? I was thinking of me.
Oh.
I was like so confused.
No, I think that is probably confusing. They're both Focus Forward.
Yeah.
Mike.
My business partner is named Mike, and I'm also named Mike.
Yeah. So Mike's great though. They're both great.
No, yeah, he's good.
But yeah, I could very much see him. Like he's very much like the man behind the scene, like like setting the order and like setting the tone and like what we will do, what we won't do.
He's good because if it weren't for him, I would we'd go out of business and we wouldn't be profiting because I'd just be like, no, yeah, we'll give him an extra video for free. Like, no problem. Like, yeah, of course we'll shoot 3 extra days, no charge. Like, he's like, no. Like 3 extra days, come on, that's gonna cost. Like, our time is worth, and so it's a good mix.
Yeah, no, it's a good blend. And that's really helpful having a business partner.
Yeah.
When one's down, you can probably help each other out and whatnot. And
for sure,
you can't fire on all cylinders every day of the week. So it's like it's probably good to like, and if you're having a rough week or whatever, you could probably check out and Mike can pick up the slack and vice versa.
For sure.
I have noticed it's difficult when it's just one person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Tough position.
Yeah. What am I doing?
But you should just take the salary of 2 people.
Cool. Well,
Sweet.
Hey, Mike, I very much enjoyed having you on the show for a second time, and hopefully we can get you back on for a third.
Third time's the charm.
Third time's the charm. I mean, the first time, we're not going to use that one. Second time, we might. You know what? We might air this second one first.
Nice.
Because I think we do have the footage. We just haven't put it together.
Yeah.
And we're still working on our podcast studio.
Yeah. No, this is cool. I like it. It's fun.
Yeah, we painted all the walls black, and we just went for a very dark look and just very minimalistic.
Of course.
Around here.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But definitely working on it. But again, such a pleasure.
Hey.
And
the pleasure's all mine.
Why don't you tell the people, the 2 businesses, what you guys do and where they can find you?
Sure.
And also, plug your own podcast here.
Yeah. So, Focus Forward Media is, like Sean said, commercial video production, and that is at Focus Forward Media. focusforwardmedia.com, wedding video and photo, neilanmedia.com. And then we have a podcast where we interview like business owners and talk about marketing and like people's stories. And that is called Up in Your Business. And we have an Instagram page called @UpInYourBizPod.
I was thinking about naming this podcast "Mind Your Business," but I'm sure that's already a podcast.
You said also you might do Up in Your Biz 2.0.
Yeah, because it would just be like yours, but just a little better.
Yeah, sure. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, so why don't you leave the folks too with some kind of encouragement? You know, speak to a young entrepreneur out there. You know, maybe best piece of entrepreneurial advice that you've gotten.
Cool. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm really big lately on trying not to be too critical on like myself, whether it's in my personal life or work life. Like I've recently been trying to get back into the gym. Go to the gym, work out a couple days a week because I know it's really good for my mental health and obviously my physical. So I've been getting back into doing that. I was out of the gym for a long time and I think like beat myself up about it. But, you know, life is tough and it's long. So a couple months not going to the gym is not going to kill me. And so just trying to like stay positive and, you know, realize I'm doing my best.
You're doing your best.
I'm trying my best.
You're perfect the way you are.
Thank you. Monica says the same thing.
I don't know if it's true.
It's definitely not.
People can always be better.
For sure. Yeah. No, but yeah, trying not to be too critical, like staying positive. That's my overall message. I know it's not too specific, but
no, it's good. That's something I've been thinking about too, is like getting back into the gym.
Yeah.
And yes, because I need it like physically.
Right.
Like, but I've never really seen results when I've gone to the gym.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's kind of pointless for me to go to the gym. Like I can eat really good and I can work out and like, it doesn't matter. Or I can eat like crap and not go to the gym and it doesn't, like I look exactly the same.
That's funny.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
But I did a juice fast a couple months ago and the benefits of it were incredible.
Yeah.
Like it was insane. And I was just like, you know what? You'd probably get the same kind of benefits from going to the gym. And you do, like, you know, you just have like more endorphins and like you think more clearly and have more stamina and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Great. No,
good.
I think that's a great practical piece of advice.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course. Anytime. I'm here all week.
All right.
Not really.
Well, thanks again, Mike. And we
course.
will thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Sounds good. Adios.
All right. Peace, guys.